Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Modesto. We're delighted that you're here with us today, and we're going to start off with song. The words are already on the screen, and would you please stand? Because when you stand, you can breathe better, and that lets more air in so you can sing better. This is the day.
This is the day
that the Lord hath made.
That the Lord hath made.
We will rejoice.
We will rejoice.
And be glad in it.
And be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it.
This is the day.
This is the day
that the Lord hath made. This is the day.
This is the day
that the Lord hath made.
That the Lord hath made.
We shall rejoice.
We shall rejoice.
And be glad in it.
And be glad in it.
This is the day that the Lord hath made.
We shall rejoice and be glad in it.
This is the day.
This is the day that the Lord hath made.
That sounded very good. Can it be? Can it be? Can it be God's love in me? All this joy and energy is mine to share today. Can you see? Can you see? I was made a God to be. In everything I say and do, I'll be God's love for you. Can it be? Can it be? Can it be God's love so free? All you feel within your heart is yours to share today. Can you see? Can you see? You were made God's love to be. With everything you say and do, we'll see God's love in you. Can it be? Can it be? Can it be God's love you see? All this joy and energy is ours to share today. Can you see? Can you see? We were made God's love to be. In everything we say and do, we are God's love for you. And now we get to be big for God. I'm gonna be big. I'm gonna be big for God. I'm gonna speak out. I'm gonna speak out for love. I'm gonna shine bright until the whole world sees the light. I'm gonna shine bright. I'm gonna speak out. I'm gonna be big for God. I'm gonna live loud, a life with no regrets. I'm gonna go now, 'cause now is all we get. I'm gonna break free to live in perfect harmony. I'm gonna break free, I'm gonna break out. I'm gonna live loud for God. I'm gonna say yes to my good right now. I'm gonna go of all of my fear and doubt. I'm gonna go forth and bring a change about. I'm gonna go forth, I'm gonna let go, I'm gonna say yes to God. I'm gonna break free, I'm gonna go now, I'm gonna live loud for God. I'm gonna shine bright, I'm gonna speak out, I'm gonna be big for God. Yay! And now it's time for Joyce to come up and do announcements. I think so. You think you'll do better over there? Okay.
Ooh, I like this. The universe provides for my every want and need. That's a good one. Thank you. All right. Good morning again, everyone. Good morning. Is this working? Is it working? Can you? Oh, okay. I've been told that I almost yanked all the equipment out, so I'm sitting over here. Last week, Paul talked about bridging the gap, and boy, did that resonate with me personally, professionally, and absolutely spiritually. And, every day we're bridging the gap one way or another. The board is working on bridging the gap with Paul's leaving and bringing in a new spiritual leader, a new minister, as Paul transitions into retirement, which I don't think he'll ever really retire. But, a lot of what he's teaching us, not only to have faith, but also just to be resilient and self-reliant and, trust that the board knows that we're working on a process. Unity Worldwide has a process in place. And, if you have any questions or concerns, join us after church today, 11:30 in the fellowship hall. You're allowed up to 5 minutes to say whatever's on your mind. And check us out. We meet, every month, same day, same station. But we're your board. We work for you, so we really do want to hear from you. And so feel free to communicate. If you can't make the board meeting, leave a message or shoot us an email to Unity of Modesto, and we'll do our best to help you out. I forgot to bring them. I brought paper sacks and plastic bags. Joni needs plastic bags for the garage sale that's coming up in May. What dates, Joni? Sorry.
It's May 19th and 20th.
Okay.
Friday and Saturday.
From 8 to 2, right?
8 to 2. Probably close at noon on Saturday.
And where can they bring the stuff?
The food pantry room is being used right now, which is past the bathrooms. You go straight through the double, it's like a door with a shelf on it. They can be left in there. Otherwise, after church today, we'll take down one of the tables in Fellowship Hall, and we'll put the stuff in that corner.
Okay. So I'm sure all of us have stuff we'd like to get rid of, and it would help the church. Our garage sales are tremendous fundraisers and help us do what we need to do to keep us going. So thank you, Joni. March 26th, next Sunday, Robert and Swami have offered to host Picnic in the Park at Snyder Park in Modesto. So Joni's bringing hot dogs and is asking for an approximate head count. So if you'd like to go and bring your family, please make sure Joni has the numbers today, right? And so that we have plenty of hot dogs. Bring your favorite picnic sides and plan on having a very nice, relaxing day with our Unity family. So that's next Sunday after church, right? Right after church. Okay.
Snyder Park.
Snyder Park.
Where? Where Snyder Road is?
No.
Okay, if you left here and you went towards the mall, you would go down Veneman and you would turn right. And the first stop light is Snyder. I'm sorry, I can't tell you whether to turn left or right because I haven't found it. Right.
You turn right. Snyder and Carver. It's really close here. Yes, Leah. What's the Joni? The question was, what's the backup plan if it rains? Do we just have, we'll just have it here? Okay, good. All right. Okay. Do they have vegetarian hot dogs? Yes. Do they? Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Prayer pilgrims. Would you stand up for us, please? Margaret, Richard, Nancy, Ben, who just got back from Israel. Welcome back, Benny. Gary. Our prayer programs are trained prayer chaplains, and they're available during and after our Sunday services to spend some time with you. Additionally, each voting member has been assigned to one of our prayer pilgrims, and as I've mentioned before, I got a phone call from one of them, and it's just to reach out and give you spiritual support. So if you're needing a prayer for yourself or someone you know, or just for the world in general, these are the folks, and they're available. Gosh, I love the fact. Look at, we went from 0 to 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5 people. That's amazing. Thank you, prayer pilgrims. So, anyway, yes. Love in action. We are almost there. If you would like to see some new activities, you know, we have the Love in Action activity sign-up sheet that's on the back table, only right now it's in my hand. But here are some traditional events. But Robert and Swami just came up with a new one, and that's hot dogs in the park. So, you know, and that's not really a fundraiser. But again, you know, there's lots of things that we can do to, you know, help support our church in so many different ways. Easter potluck, April 9th, sign-up sheet is going to also be at the back table. So go ahead and sign up for that if you would. Bookstore, we're still looking for bookstore volunteers and managers. It's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to take advantage of something. We have thousands of dollars in inventory. And, you know, I would hate to think if we can't keep it going. In my professional life, I'm in the process now of closing the gift shop at the Health Services Agency that was part of Scenic General Hospital since the 80s. And it's very traumatic. I mean, it's gut-wrenching to have to do that. So let's continue to support it, you know, purchase books and other items for yourself and for, you know, friends and family. And but more importantly, we need you to help us volunteer. Course in Miracles group is held in the Unitine room every Sunday at 11:30. So absolutely, you're welcome to join that. Next Sunday is Gift Card Sunday, so be sure and place your orders with Jackie. And we have a lot of gift cards available in the foyer. Those of you that are Amazon users, use Amazon Smile, right, Jackie? Because that also helps support the church. Okay. Okay. And this has nothing to do with the church, but it's the Healthy Aging Association, Age with Movement Celebration. I'll put this notice on the back. They're having a free event on Friday, May the 5th from 8 to noon at East Loma Park. And they'll have 30 plus community booths and light refreshments and a pet parade and photo booth and raffle prizes and all kinds of cool stuff. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Well, I'm very excited to hear what Paul has to say today. I absolutely believe it's going to be exactly what Joel Osteen said this morning, but only better. So thank you.
This is the time in our service when we stand and hold hands and sing the Lord's Prayer together. If you are not a hand holder, you can just respectfully decline and people will not think a thing of it. our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from error. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
You may be seated. Jeremy, who are you wearing? Smokey Robinson. Key Pest, right? Was that who it was? Who was it? Who? Oh, Chuck Berry. Okay, I won't. Good morning, everybody. Now that I've made false news. Alternative news, alternative truth. There you go. What? Okay, back up. Good morning. So I know we have somebody here for the first time. Welcome. We're glad that you're with us. So we're going to give you a little packet of information about who we are, so perhaps you can read that over. Or somebody else is new. Yay, two. We have 2 packets. So this is just who we are, and maybe sometime this week you can take a look at that. And over here on the aisle, there you go. Each month we have in our service a monthly affirmation, and you'll find it at the bottom of the left side of your bulletin. So I wonder if you'll look at that, and then we're going to say that together. Together, all experiences in my life nurture and support me. We don't always realize that, but looking back, you'll realize that pretty much everything that happened, and we learned and we grew. So that's our affirmation. So today's daily word says this. It says, awakened to spirit, I am blessed and a blessing. While asleep, I am being refreshed physically and mentally. When I awake, I have a greater awareness of my oneness with the world. I go about my day taking in and being responsive to other people and my surroundings. Prayer provides me with a clear view of God's presence in all and through all. I feel the joy of living a God-centered life. I hear the still small voice within and follow divine guidance. I understand that the diversity in people and in all creation is a gift from God. Each new day is an invitation to fill the next 24 hours with faith. Awakened to spirit, I am blessed and a blessing. And from the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11, we read, besides this, you know what time it is, how it is now the moment for you to wake from sleep. For salvation is nearer to us now than when we became believers. And so it is. And now we're going to turn this over to our music team as we move towards meditation.
I behold the Christ in you. Here the life of God I see. I can see a great peace too. I can see you whole and free. I behold the Christ in you. I can see this as you walk. I see this in all you do. I can see this as you talk. I behold God's love expressed. I can see you filled with power. I can see you ever blessed. see Christ in you, hour by hour. Behold the Christ in you. I can see that perfect one, led by God in all you do. I can see God's work is done. I behold God's love expressed. I can see you filled with power. I can see you ever blessed. See Christ in you, hour by hour. I behold the Christ in you. I can see that perfect one, led by God in all you do. I can see God's work is done.
It's the time in our service that we set aside to turn within. So I invite you to do that. I invite you to close your eyes and relax. Just put both your feet on the ground and set aside anything that you might be holding and relax. Just take in a deep breath and hold it for a moment and then release. Breathe in, hold it, and then release. And as you breathe in, know that you breathe in God. And as you release love. Breathe in God, release love. And then breathe in love and release God. For God and love and you are all one. You're not separate from, you're part of. You are God's hands. You are God's feet. You are God expressed right now on this earth. And your love made manifest to benefit all of mankind. The truth is, you're a very special person. You're not here by accident. You're here to express the truth of God and the truth of love. You're here to bring light into a sometimes darkened world. You're here to bring hope and forgiveness. You're here to bring peace. There's no accident in your presence. Scripture tells us that we are made in the image and in the likeness of God. And that's a responsibility. The responsibility to express love. That's a responsibility to be a positive energy force, to bring healing, to affirm faith. So for just a moment, sit with your eyes closed and allow the love of God to completely envelop you. Feel the peace of God surround you. Let us pray. Mother, Father, God, divine truth, thank you for our many blessings. Thank you for this experience we call life. Thank you for the opportunity to express that which we were put here to express. And so it is. Amen. JJ's thinking I should just sit here the rest of the hour, and you guys should just do whatever you're going to do, because we're just going to relax. Let's go. Let's get up. So we've been talking this month about bridging the gap, about moving from this point, how to manage that space between the idea that's incubated in our mind about where we're supposed to go and what God's direction is for our lives, those divinely directed dreams and aspirations that we have. And then how do we get from that dream or that vision to the reality, to the tangible expression of that which we're supposed to do? And last Sunday and today and all of next Sunday, we're all about building. We're all about building and revealing the way to get over that gap from the dream to the reality. How do we get across that chasm? How do we move across? So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to continue that. Last Sunday, I shared a couple of passages from a book called The Alchemist, a fable about following your dream. It was written in the late 80s by a Brazilian author, and it's a pretty amazingly interesting book. It's hard to find. Be sure if you get it to get a good translation, because some of them aren't all that awesome. But it's about a shepherd boy who has a dream. He has a really, really big dream, and he reluctantly decides that he's going to pursue it. And when I say reluctantly, he doubts that it can be a reality. He doubts that he's good enough to make it happen. In order to get from where that dream would have him, from where he is to where that dream would have him, he's got a big gap to get across. And it's not just a little gap, it's a pretty huge chasm in his life to go from one side to the other. And I ended last Sunday's talk with a passage in which the young shepherd he's finally met the alchemist who he's been looking for, because it's his belief throughout the book that if he can just meet him, he'll get the guidance that he needs and he'll have the answers that he needs in order to find his dream. And they're having a conversation. And in the conversation, the boy's trying to decide if he should continue going after his dream or not. And at that point in the story, it's looking pretty impossible. It looks like it's probably not going to happen. It's probably not something that could happen. And I wonder if anyone's ever felt that way about a dream. It's like, oh, I don't know if this is going to happen. It probably wouldn't happen. Some of you might be there or might have been there. Anyhow, here's the passage that I ended up with last week. It says this. And this is the shepherd boy talking. He says, "My heart is afraid it will have to suffer," the boy told the alchemist one night as he looked up to the moonless sky. "Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity." Every second of the search is an encounter with God, the boy told his heart. When I've been truly searching for my treasure, every day has been luminous, because I've known that every hour was a part of the dream that I would find. When I have been truly searching for my treasure, I've discovered things along the way that I would have never seen, and had I not had the courage to try things that seemed impossible for a shepherd to achieve. And I want to move on a little bit. That's kind of where I left us last Sunday. I want to move on a little bit. And this will guide our work for today. And I thought about actually providing some cookies and milk, because that's what we did in kindergarten when I taught elementary school. But I decided that you'd all want to curl up on the floor and take a nap. So you're not going to get cookies and milk, but I'm going to continue the story time. He goes on in the book, and here's what it says. "So my heart was quiet for an entire afternoon. That night, the boy slept deeply, and when he awoke, his heart began to tell him things that came from the soul of the world. Those who were with us last week, what was that we said was the soul of the world? What do we say that was? Anybody remember that? We said that was intuition. And we said that that's what we also described as what? Remember that descriptive term we used just so we didn't get hooked up with negativity, huh? The voice that loves us, yes. So at any rate, we talked about that idea that the voice of the soul from the soul of the world is really our intuition. It's our heart speak. And we know that intuition is intuition because we know that will always be offered to us because it is the voice that loves us. We won't get an intuitive thought or direction that's negative. We won't get something that's going to hurt ourselves or anyone else. At any rate, going back to the story, that night, the boy slept deeply, and when he awoke, his heart began to tell him things that came from the soul of the world. It said that all people who are happy have God within them. I would simply edit that, and I'd say that all people who are happy know that they have God within them. And that happiness could be found in a grain of sand from the desert, because a grain of sand was there at the moment of creation. Everyone on earth has a treasure that awaits him, his heart said. We, people's hearts, seldom say much about those treasures because people no longer want to go in search of them. We speak of them only to children. Later, we simply let life proceed its own direction toward its own fate. But unfortunately, very few follow the path laid out for them, the path to their personal legends. That's what the author uses as his term for God-inspired aspirations and divinely directed dreams. And to happiness, most people see the world as a threatening place. And because they do, the world turns out indeed to be a threatening place. So we, their hearts, speak more and more softly. We never stop speaking out, but we begin to hope that our words won't be heard. We don't want people to suffer because they don't follow their hearts. Why don't people's hearts tell them to continue to follow their dreams? The boy asked the alchemist. Because that's what makes a heart suffer most, and hearts don't like to suffer. From then on, the boy understood his heart. He asked it, please, never to stop speaking to him. He asked that when he wandered far from his dream, his heart press him and sound the alarm. The boy swore that every time he heard the alarm, he would heed its message. That night he told all of this to the alchemist, and the alchemist understood that the boy's heart had returned to the soul of the world. So what should I do now, the boy asked. And that's where we're going to leave the story for today. And we'll pick it up there next week. But at any rate, today I want to remind some of the gold that I think is contained in that passage of that book. Last week we looked at two spiritual tools that we said would help us to stay at least two steps ahead of where we were going when we were trying to bridge this gap between where we were and where we wanted to go. And one of those was to cultivate the open moment. And we defined that, and what we said is it means to take the tiniest crack in the wall, the tiniest opportunity, and begin to explode or implode upon it. You know, that's how water works. Just the tiniest little crack, and the water keeps flowing, it keeps moving, and it keeps moving, and it breaks through. And that's what we suggested to you. Cultivate that open moment. Take that thing, that spot of light that you see, and begin to move through it. The experience of moving through helps create the energy that opens up and helps us span that chasm. Because we know this. We know that with God, all things are possible. And we know when we have a dream and an aspiration, when we proclaim that with God, all things are possible, impossible things begin to happen. And I'd like you to say that aloud. With God, all things are possible. Together, with God, all things are possible. Why don't you turn to somebody and affirm that to them? With God, all things are possible. And now say it back to them. Because this is truth. With God, all things are possible. There is no impossibility. We can go with and do with as we see. And now with our God-inspired aspiration, with our God-inspired direction, with our God-inspired goal, we are able to really affirm with God, this is possible. with God, this is possible. When we have the direction, when we have the dream, when our inner voice has spoken to us and whispered to us the truth about where and what we should do next, when that happens, and when we understand that with God everything is possible, when we get that, we begin to open that little crack, to cultivate that opening moment. And the second tip we gave you last week was to listen to our intuition. We said, listen to the intuition. Look for the opportunities, that little crack that we can open up further and further and further, and then listen to our intuition. And we said that was, once again, we said that was the voice that loves us. This is the voice of the heart that the story is talking about. That's what the alchemist is talking about when he talks about the heart. And these are tools that get you partially across the bridge. But if you get that far, you may still feel like you're kind of hanging in the gap, that you haven't moved completely from where you are to where you want to be. And that can be scary. And it's that point in time that we often give up the dream, that we quit. And however far we got, we scurry back to our reality or to our comfort zone or to where we felt okay about it. And then later in life, 30 years down the road, we look back and say, you know, I once had the opportunity, but I didn't. I once had the chance to, but I was afraid. So we're saying to you, find that dream, listen to that intuition, and move with it. Allow it to happen. I mentioned to you last week Indiana Jones and how in that one scene he's trying to cross a bridge, the invisible bridge, but there are always like, get ready to take a step and the bridge is there, and then takes another step and the bridge is there, and it happens. So if you see a big old problem in your way between where you are and where you want to be, there's a huge obstacle, and you look at it and you get in front of it and you say, there's no way around this. There's no way through it, under it, or around it. I'm stuck. So you hang there. You're right there. And you can't move forward. Anybody ever been there? Anybody ever had that happen in your life, that you just felt like, I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck. So here's our spiritual tool for today. The tool for today is to understand that the problem was never the problem. And we've talked about this before in many different ways because it's a basic understanding of unity. But so I'm hoping that somebody pops up with this answer real quick. If the problem isn't the problem, what is the problem? The thinking that we have, or the way we look at it, or our perceptions of it, or all of our life experiences so far. We make the problem. We create the problem. Our way of perceiving the experience dramatizes it or allows us to overcome it. The way I am thinking about it will limit me or allow me to go around it or under it or over it. The problem isn't the problem. The way we think about the problem is the problem. And that's what we have to do. In Talks on Truth, Charles Foreman wrote, "It does not require labored arguments or hard thinking to see how easily the problem of life would be made orderly and divine if men would let the Lord into their mind. Jesus said that the yoke was easy and the burden light. He was victor over all the hard conditions to which men and women think themselves yoked. By annulling them and preaching boldly in face of the adverse theology that was the prerogative of the Son of Man, to blot those errors from the world of mankind." So the real issue for us, and today's spiritual tool to help us to reveal another step across that bridge, is to see the problem in an entirely different light, to challenge ourselves to rethink our thinking, to rework our perception. And that's the conversation that the alchemist had with this little shepherd boy. And that's what he said, listen to your heart and do what your heart tells you to do. Listen to your intuition. The problem is not the problem. And trust me, that's huge. To internalize that and understand that and work with that is huge. But it's the way we achieve what seems impossible. The way we perceive our life and our life situation is the problem. But what we think is the problem isn't. Our thinking around it is. I want to tell you another story about a shepherd boy, and it's one that you probably heard. You probably heard it way back when you were a little kid in Sunday school somewhere in your life, or somebody told you this story. But I'm going to suggest to you that you missed a key. I'm going to suggest when you heard this story as a kid, nobody gave you the rest of the story. A long time ago in a galaxy far... Oh, no, that was a different story. According to the Bible, the Israelites and the Philistines were inviting a war. It was a big war, and it had been going on for a long time. It was a messy war, and they were on a particular field of battle. And there was this Philistine by the name of Goliath of Gath. And he was one of lots of giants, but he was a giant amongst giants. And twice a day, the Bible tells us, at dawn and at dusk, Goliath would step out into the middle of the battlefield and he would scream at the Israelites, "Let's do this war a different way. One of you step forward and fight me to the death, and whichever one of us wins, their people will enslave the loser's people." You know that story, right? Y'all heard that story, David, Goliath, and the slingshot and the pebbles, and I think it's a lot richer than that. I think there's a lot more to that than just the surface story. Whenever Goliath would step out and he'd make these taunting offers, the Israelites, the Bible tells us, kind of took off. They weren't going to hang around. They were afraid of this guy, and they would run off into the hills because no one wanted to fight the giant. Well, the Bible story goes on to tell us that Jesse had 4 sons, and 3 of them were in the military, and his youngest son was David, and he told David to take some food to the battlefield for his brothers. And when David got there, he got there just in time to hear Goliath and his boasting and his bragging and his challenging about just one person step forward. The terrified soldiers ran away, and David ran right along with them. He wasn't going to look at that guy at that point in time. But when he gets out there, he's looking for his brothers, and he begins to hear this tale about this giant, this Goliath, and how every day, twice a day, he challenged the Israelites. And he'd been making this proposition for 40 days. And for those of you who have been around for a while, 40 days means what? It's however long it takes to make the transformation. So for 40 days and every day, Goliath goes out and challenges the Israelites. Just one of you step forward, be brave enough. And whoever wins will enslave the people of the other. David is a little bit afraid, but the king steps up, and Saul has this idea. He says, you know what, maybe if I make the pot wealthy enough, one of my soldiers will step up, and I'm going to offer some rewards to he who takes down this man called Goliath. And obviously he's going to have to win. But what he did is he said that he would give to whoever that was, number one, that person's family would never be taxed again in the land. And number two, to make the deal really sweet, whoever was the victor would be allowed to marry the king's daughter. She was a princess. And David pondered that. And he thought about this idea of being married to one of the wealthiest people in the land. And he thought about this idea of his family never being taxed again. And he thinks that sounds pretty darn good. I think I'm interested in that. So when he finally finds his brothers, he says to them, I heard that taunt, and I think I'm going to take up that challenge. I think I can do that. Not only will I get wealthy, not only not pay taxes, but I'll be married to one of the most beautiful women in the land, and I'll save my tribe of Israelites. What a deal. Sounds pretty good. And of course, the brothers said, as brothers will, "Are you crazy? What is wrong with you? Have you seen this guy? You're just this little scrawny..." We're soldiers, at least, and we're afraid of him. You're this scrawny little kid, have no military training. What is wrong with you? And what we think about now when I'm telling this story is we think that the problem is the problem. We think Goliath is the problem. But David is about to show us that's not it. David is about to show us that the way we think about the problem is the problem. Because what we could do, or what he could do, is he could look at Goliath and say, oh my gosh, this guy's big and scary and he's a soldier and I'm going to die. But he didn't. He had a dream. So he decided that he was going to take this leap of faith and he was going to bridge that gap and he was going to go from where he was to where he wanted to be, and he was going to make it happen. He was going to take a leap of faith. Everybody says, no, you are crazy. But David is listening to his intuition. He's listening to that voice that loves him. He's not going to run. He's not going to do what everyone else does. He could have done exactly what makes the heart suffer the most, which is to not achieve what he was put here to achieve. He could have ignored the idea that everyone was put here on this earth to be a treasure, and that treasure awaits them when they go looking for it. But he changed his perception. He decided that he wouldn't be bound by what appeared to be a problem, that he would step forward, and that Goliath wasn't an obstacle in his way, and he was going to instead get his dream, and he was going to bridge that gap, and he's going to get over it. Think about it. Riches, no taxes, a beautiful princess. What young man wouldn't be interested? In other words, he focused his vision on his intention. He focused his vision on that which he wanted to achieve, not what was standing in front of him. He saw where he wanted to go. And our work as we stand halfway across this bridge is to do exactly the same thing, to keep our eye on the prize, not to run back across the bridge where we started, but to press forward. And that's what David did. David pressed forward and he listened to his intuition. The king wanted him to wear all of this armor. The armor was bigger than he and weighed more than he weighed. The king wanted him to go out there with all of these armaments, and he picked up 5 stones and a slingshot. Everyone in that camp had the same opportunity. Every one of those soldiers could have understood that the problem wasn't the problem. Everyone could have done differently. And as we learn from the all-comers, very few follow the path laid out for them, the path to their personal entrance into happiness. Most people see the world as a threatening place, and because they do, the world turns out to be indeed a threatening place. But not you, or you. We don't see the world as a threatening place. We're willing to walk across the bridge. We're willing to step out in faith. We're willing to listen to our intuition and move, and we're willing to not let that problem become the problem. We're willing to look at it differently. We're willing to perceive the truth of who we are as God-beloved children. And we're willing to follow our intuition and our divinely inspired dreams. And then we continue the journey and we move forward. Today we heard about 2 shepherd boys, both of us trying to tell us the same story, both of us trying to lead us to the same understanding, to know that God is with us, to know that the problem isn't the problem. The problem isn't the obstacle. Our mind is our obstacle. The way to achieve our dreams is to not perceive the problem through the eyes we normally would perceive it. To keep our attention and our focus and our commitment on the outcome, on the dream, on the reality of where we're going to go. And once again, as the alchemist told the little boy, every second of the journey is an encounter with God. God bless you. Have a great week.
Did you do it down 2 when we practiced? Yeah, no, I think that was a Joe time when I was singing it in the upper octave. I can hear the sadness in the voices of my friends, talking about this world and its pain. But we must not lose heart, we cannot give up hope, for long have we journeyed, waiting for this day, these times. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. But this path makes us stronger the higher we climb. We were made for these times. Let us turn our fears into courage, into faith, our greed to generosity. We can give our anger to love's compassion and move this injustice to peace and unity. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. But this path makes us stronger the higher we climb. We were made for these times. Didn't we say we are believers? Didn't we ask for grace? We must remember right now we are needed to stand and shine our light in this moment, in this place. These times seem so uncertain, so kind. But this path makes us stronger the higher we climb. We were made for these times. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. We shall use our voices, we will not walk blind. We were made for these times. Our hearts were made for these times.
Thank you, Margaret. So a year ago today, JJ came to her very first church service, and you may remember that she was pretty scrawny, and I think some of you, everyone knows, I think, she weighed 1.5 pounds. The vet said she won't live through the day. And then she wasn't thriving, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to take her to church. She'll get a lot of love. And now she walks around like she owns the place. That's the first time I've ever seen her do that during service. She just about says hello to everybody. And for those of you who don't know, her tongue sticks out because she was tortured for, they think, about 2 years, but that was part of the torture they did. So anyhow, I just think, you know what, with enough love, everything happens, and it's awesome. So that's where her story is. So it was a year ago today that she showed up for the first time. And now she's like, she owns the joint. Huh?
She does.
Don't you? It's now the time of service. We share of our gifts and offerings, and I invite you to join together as we say our offering statement. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And now let's sing a song.
Please join me in singing. My gift goes forth on the wings of love, and it lands where it can heal and bless. It returns to me multiplied 1,000-fold, as the universe says yes, yes, as the universe says yes. My gift goes forth on the wings of love, and it lands where it can heal and bless. It returns to me multiplied 1,000-fold, as the universe says yes, yes, as the universe says yes.
Let's pray. Mother, Father, God, divine love, thank you for this reminder. The problem's not the problem. Our perception is. And we can change our perception, and we can achieve the outcomes that we desire. God, we bless these gifts and each person who's given. It's our commitment that these funds will be used to further spread your truth. And so it is. Amen. And now let me invite you to stand up, and we're going to close out our service first by saying together our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And now we're going to circle it up. If you're new, put yourself somewhere you can see the screen, because there are going to be some words up there. Can somebody get the kids for us? Laura, you want to get the kids? Are they here? Oh, they're coming. Okay.
She intuitively knows that.
Do what?
She intuitively knows that.
Oh.
I don't know.
All right, you guys, you got to spread out over there. Yeah, that's it. Follow Paul. Follow Paul. That's a biblical thing. Wait a minute, where's young kids? Ah, here they come.
Here they come.
Okay, here we go.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment, peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Yay, God.